Welcome to Pilgrim's Rest channel.
It's wonderful to be here with you.
Our whole mission, really, is to introduce some of the classic spiritual literature that's been passed down through the ages. We want this to be a place that provides, rest, supply, and renewed strength for all saints walking that heavenly road.
And that road can be exhausting. It's easy to get lost in the noise, which is why we're doing this deep dive today. We're hoping to extract the real essence of a text that has helped so many people for centuries.
Yes, and this is a big one. We're talking about Madame Guyon's timeless work, Divine Love.
It is a monumental book, and our goal today is to really distill its core message for you.
It's not a light read, I'll say that, but it's an absolutely essential resource for anyone who's serious about pursuing a deeper spiritual life.
Exactly. We're focusing on this idea of a genuine, unreserved love for God. We want to show you why a book from the 17th century, of all things, might hold the key to finding real rest in your faith today.
Okay, so let's start there, with the author herself, Madame Guyon. When you first hear that name, you might think it sounds a bit, distant. But her ideas are so startlingly fresh. Who was she, really?
Well, she lived a pretty dramatic and often very difficult life in 17th century France. But for our purposes, the thing to understand about Guyon is her focus. She was all about the interior life.
The interior life?
Yes, and the practice of contemplative prayer. This was at a time when so much of spiritual life was, dominated by external rituals, dogma, structured achievements. She was advocating for simplicity.
So that inward focus, that has to be the foundation for a book called Divine Love. She's basically saying, forget the performance, the real action is happening inside.
That's it exactly. What makes her voice so enduring is her priority. Experience over doctrine, relationship over rules. She wasn't an academic theologian, not in the traditional sense. She was a woman who had, by all accounts, experienced a profound union with God.
And she championed a simple faith.
A simple, almost passive faith, which, doesn't mean doing nothing. It means allowing God to work in you, rather than you constantly striving and performing actions for him.
I mean, if you look at the spiritual world today, we're drowning in strategies and programs and five-step plans. She just cuts right through all that.
She points to simplification. She strips it all away and says the whole law is fulfilled in love. And she gives guidance on how to actually achieve that simple, constant presence with God, which is the rest every pilgrim is looking for.
Which brings us to the book itself, Divine Love. So for a saint today, walking that heavenly road, facing all the modern distractions, the pressure to be productive, to perform, why dedicate time to this specific work? What does it supply?
Its importance is immense, I think, because of those very pressures. The modern world runs on metrics, right, on output. And that corporate mindset has crept into our spiritual lives.
You mean we treat our faith like a resume? I read this many chapters, I prayed for this long.
Yes. It's a spiritual checklist. And Divine Love provides this deep, deep rest by challenging us to move beyond just doing things for God and towards simply being with him in a state of just selfless affection.
So the supply it offers is a total shift in motivation.
A radical shift.
Yeah.
The book is all about the pursuit of pure, selfless love, agape. Guyon's argument is that until you purify your motivation, your love is still contaminated by the self. You have to desire God purely for who he is.
Not for what he can give you.
Not for what he can give you.
Okay, that sounds, both necessary and frankly terrifying. If we're being honest, a lot of us pursue God because we want something. Comfort, peace, security, salvation.
And that's the brutal honesty Guyon demands. She asks you to look at the contract you've kind of implicitly written with God. The core concept is abandoning the self entirely in love for God, desiring nothing.
Nothing.
Not even personal comfort or feeling spiritually good, only desiring God's glory and his pleasure.
But wait a minute. How do you distinguish that kind of radical abandonment from, say, just giving up? Or, and this is a fine line, a kind of spiritual pride where you're trying to impress God with how selfless you are?
That is a crucial question. It's not about fatalism, which is a sort of resigned passivity. It's about active surrender. True abandonment, for Guyon, isn't rooted in despair. It's rooted in radical trust. It's knowing that if God, who is love itself, wills something, that will is perfect, even if it feels terrible to you.
So the test is how you react to hardship. If I lose my job or my health and my inner peace is just gone, that proves my attachment was to the gift, not the giver.
Exactly, and that leads us to one of our most famous ideas, the concept of spiritual nudity.
I love that imagery. It's so memorable. Tell us more about what that means, to be spiritually nude.
Well, it's the process of stripping away all motivators other than pure, unreserved love for God. And this is where the work gets really intense. You strip away self-interest, the desire for praise, even your preoccupation with your own spiritual progress.
So if I stop being preoccupied with my progress, what happens when I stumble? When I sin, or when I feel dry and distant from God?
See, if you're relying on your spiritual achievements for your sense of worth, then failure crushes you. Your ego is tied to your performance. But if you're spiritually nude, you're stripped of that. When you fail, you just turn back to God. Not to fix your resume, but because He is the pure object of your love. The relationship stops being transactional.
That makes so much sense. That really is the source of rest for the pilgrim, isn't it? When you stop chasing achievements, you can finally just rest in the will of God. It sounds like freedom.
It is the ultimate freedom from self-occupation. And to help that stick, there are some golden phrases from her work that really capture this spirit.
Give us one of the hard-hitting ones.
The central idea is seeking God simply for who He is. And she takes us to the absolute extreme to make her point. A sentiment you find in her writing is something like this. When we love God purely, we are willing to be eternally lost if that were His will, provided He were perfectly satisfied.
Wow. That is staggering. I mean, the psychological shift required for that is monumental. Most people would hear that and think it sounds like nihilism.
It's meant to be a test of intention. It's hyperbole, really, designed to stress that genuine love is entirely for the other. The moment you say, I love God so that I can be saved, you've introduced self-interest. She's demanding that the love itself be the reward.
And what about the practical side? Is this pure love found in some kind of ecstatic prayer state?
No, absolutely not. Another key idea is simplicity. She says the highest love isn't complex or strained. It's a profound simplicity. She calls it a simple, steady turning of the soul toward God, without striving or effort, except the effort to cease from self-effort.
The effort to cease from self-effort. That's the key right there, isn't it? For anyone feeling exhausted on the heavenly road.
You're spending energy to stop spending energy on performance.
Which connects this ancient text directly to us now. We are all striving so hard. So how does this radical concept impact the daily life of a modern saint? You know, someone with a to-do list, bills, a demanding schedule.
It changes the quality of the action, not necessarily the action itself. I mean, if you're dealing with a difficult person at work or you're stuck in traffic, your natural motivation is frustration. Right. Or maybe you want to look good, be seen as patient.
Sure.
Guyon insists that in those moments you can do the task, send the email, wait in line with the sole intention of pleasing God. The motive becomes pure.
So the mundane suddenly becomes sacred, not because the task is important, but because the motive behind it is pure.
Precisely. And if your motive is pure, it leads to this deep interior peace, this rest, even when everything outside is chaotic. A saint operating from this place isn't looking for a reward or some visible success. They're just abiding.
That's the antidote to the performance-based spirituality we're talking about. We're trained to measure our productivity, but Guyon suggests we should be measuring our receptivity, our intention.
Correct. And this way of thinking fosters incredible patience. If you struggle with burnout, this book reframes your entire motivation. The Heavenly Road is hard, but you don't burn out if you aren't carrying the heavy burden of your own success or failure.
Let's push on that a little more. What assumptions about the spiritual life does divine love just completely force us to question?
Oh, fundamentally, it makes us question the very idea of spiritual progress. We assume the spiritual life is a ladder we climb. You know, more discipline, more knowledge, more good deeds.
An accumulation of spiritual capital.
Yes. And Guyon asks, is it really about accumulation and achievement? Or is it about dispossession and surrender? We assume the goal is to gain status in God's kingdom. She suggests the goal is to lose ourselves entirely in His love, to become nothing so that He can be everything.
It really makes you question if you're serving God or if you're serving your own spiritual ambition, serving that good feeling you get from, feeling righteous.
That's the crucial distinction. When the soul is purified by this divine love, its motivation becomes so simple that outward circumstances they stop shaking that interior rest. The supply this book offers is resilience through simplicity.
This has been just an incredibly clarifying deep dive. So to try and summarize, Madame Guyon's Divine Love is really a map for the journey inward. It's pushing for a simple, profound relationship with God that gives you rest from all that self-striving.
It redefines success as total surrender. And that's the supply you need for the hardest parts of the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe as a final thought for you to explore as you go from here, considering Guyon's emphasis on this pure, unmotivated love, just think about your own spiritual life, your prayer, your study, your service. Where are you most tempted to mix that seeking with self-interest? Maybe you're looking for comfort or recognition or security. And how might the radical simplicity of divine love offer you a path toward true simplification and freedom from that internal pressure?
Thank you for listening to Pilgrim's Rest channel. We welcome you to leave a comment about what you gained from listening so that we pilgrims can support and encourage each other. We hope to see you next time.